Couldn't ask for a better weekend. Number 2 qualifier. That's just we've never done that, and the round wins are just stellar. We cannot complain one bit.
All right, we'll see you next round.
Alrighty, thank you.
Kevin Kinsley coming up against Steve Harker, the anointed one, according to Jay Payne.
Yes.
Kinsley's going to give him a run, and we'll talk about the Foster family. Mentioned he used to run the A dragster. Watch the cars make the burnout, warm the tires up. Kevin Kinsley. Harker will do likewise. He used to race the Foster kid when he was 15 years old. Used to run against John Lingenfelder in some of the great races. Danny Townsend, some of the absolute best in the class up there in the Division 3, Division 4 area. So that's a kid that's, I mean, he's not a kid anymore. He's in his 40s, but this guy's got a lot of great drag racing experience against some of the top names in the sport.
Yep, you mentioned those big names. Right now, Steve Harker is trying to establish himself as one of the big names in alcohol funny car, and he's certainly done that. And without Frank Manzo being here, this is a big opportunity for him.
We always talk about him and his daughters and his wife. It's a great family operation. Kevin Kinsley got a little sign on the side of his race car congratulating his daughter Colby, who made the National Honor Society. She said, if you put that on the race car, I'm going to kill you. But hey, look, if you can't embarrass your kids, you know, I mean, why bring them to the races? Kevin Kinsley's a boat champion, and I said to him, what engine do you have in this? He said, we got the engine in this we ran in our boat a couple of weeks ago. I said, really? I said, what do you have to do to make it go from the boats to here? He said, turn the supercharger around.
Wow, unbelievable.
I'm sure there may be a little bit more to it than that. You go, proud parent of a scholar.
There you go.
Right down there. I was going to spell scholar, but I figured I'd spell it wrong.
You mentioned Colby. We should mention one other thing. Happy birthday to you. 18 years old now. That says going to do everything I can to bring home a Wally for you.
Got a tough assignment here. I mean, not only did Steve Harker run that 52 in the opening round, he qualified very well. Right now, other than Frank, that's the best car in the class from a performance standpoint.
This one's pretty close, but at the finish line, it is Steve Harker. Kevin Kinsley was right there, 562. That's a great run, except for when you run into a 558.
Harker needed all that power he could make. He ran 258 miles an hour, ran almost 208 miles an hour at half track. I'll put that in comparison. When Frank Manzo and Bob Tasker were running those low 540s, those cars were running 209.5 and 210 at the 8th mile. So Harker right there, although he gave him a little bit on the starting line, managed to come down and wins that. And the kid's back on the starting line. The crowd goes wild.
Well, as Harker makes his way off the racetrack, you can see that he will have lane choice over Jay Payne. That's going to be a big primetime matchup for the semifinals. On the other side, it will be the numbers 2 and 3 in qualifying. Chris Foster, Marty Nothsky is the gold medalist, will pick his lane.
Should ask Jay. He seems so good at predicting these things. He said after his run, he was going to run Harker right here. As good as it gets right now. We mentioned that Frank Manzo not here. I don't know if we ever said that time that Bob Tasker was talking about 5:45.1, the low ET that he had set there. And Steve Harker ran 5:52 here this weekend. Several teams that I talked to, you should take a look at Shelly Anderson backing her husband back up over in that right lane. They told me that it's possible to run low 550s here today, if indeed they can figure out the racetrack, keeping that nasty tire shake that we saw from a lot of the cars in the previous round.
Really, the weather conditions today have continued to be about the same all day. We're enjoying low 70s, low water grains. Means the cars are making a lot of horsepower. It's just getting that horsepower connected to the racetrack. We've seen some of that tire shake today. 9th meeting between these two head-to-head. Jay leads in the series 5-3. Jay leads against almost everybody in these races. 114-degree track temperature out there. Two very good teams that should be able to solve a higher track temperature than we've seen in a tough left lane. That was weird. Oh, but Harker runs around at the top end. If you take a look at the reaction time, Jay Payne, 004, got a big jump. The lights were flickering. You see, they're talking about that. That's what Will Hanna was saying, and that's what I said when it was weird on the starting line. Almost looked like Jay rolled on the starting line, got the top yellow light out, and then got a 004 reaction time. That's better than a 1/10 of a second off the line over Harker. You see Jay having a little tire shake in that first to second gear swap down there. I didn't think Harker had a chance to run him down. He goes 5:56, ran over 209 miles an hour at the 8th mile. A superb performance right there for Harker, and he could have given up because that little glitch on the starting line
almost spelled the end of it. Look at that, just really nasty tire shake. Even that 004 light on the starting line is not enough. And back on the starting line, the Harker clan and the girls, and you'll see Will Hanna stepping in talking to Steve's wife, talking about, yep, that light was blinking on the starting line, and that was just a bizarre starting reaction.
Try not to catch the flu down here from Steve, but you got past that next round. You're going up against Marty. Are you guys going to make any major changes? You've been pretty consistent this weekend.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep it consistent, and Lucas Oil, Hedman headers, I-40 Inc., you know, we're having a good time. The cars, we seem to struggle with a little bit with new clutch packs, but we're getting it down the track. So only red lit, then it was dragging real bad. We couldn't, we had a thin clutch pack in it. We couldn't get any more air gaps. So, but anyway, we got the win. So hopefully in the final we can do it again.
All right, we'll see you next round.
Thank you.
There's clutch problems. It doesn't make any difference what class you're running in this sport. The clutch is so key to getting cars off the starting line and navigating them well without too much tire shake.
Top comes down on Steve Harker's red machine on the right side of your screen as we welcome you back to Houston Raceway Park. Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series. On the other side, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, Marty Nothstein. This a great opportunity, Bob, for Marty. Good opportunity also for Steve with Frank Manzo not being here and already having a couple national events on the board.
Steve Harker needs to learn to close that deal. We've mentioned that before. 13 final rounds, but just 2 national event wins. We've already seen a couple of first-time winners through David Jones, Jacqueline Gebhardt. Of course, Marty Nothstein over there is going to get an opportunity to run for his first. And this is the track, of course, we're back a couple of years ago that the Jay Blake team came and won the race. David Ray driving at the time did a great job. So they've been running very well. I mean, Marty's been in the low 560s. The weather in the track, the sun starts to set a little bit, gives you the racetrack back, meaning the temperature should be down from what we saw earlier at that 114, 115 range. It'll be a very interesting matchup between these two high-powered teams.
Where did Marty win those gold medals? It was in cycling. It means he's pretty good with hand-eye coordination, having to steer a bicycle. Because of that, he's been very, very good on the tree today. 0.30 in the second round, 0.30 once again in the semifinals. Steve Harker cannot afford to give him anything at the starting line.
Absolutely. A lot of us are good with that hand-eye coordination. Oh, I'm sorry about it.
Let me get that for you.
I'm ready to
find it.
Another family back on the starting line. You've got 2 race cars here that are capable of both running into the 50s. They both have, and of course, Steve trying to win this thing out of the #1 qualifying spot here this weekend.
Well, the fans have stuck around. They want to see how this thing's going to play out, and it's going to be a good one. The #1 qualifier on the left is Steve Harker. The #3 qualifier on the right is Marty Nothstein.
Harker looking for the sweep. #1, low ET, top speed. You got that kind of race car, and he's had it before. You don't want to let these get away.
Here we go. Marty with the red light. You saw the car kind of roll, and that is a shame, because Marty actually outran the national event winner here in Houston, Steve Harker, who went 563, 227. There you can see the hands on the head. Threw it away.
Unbelievable. I have not seen this many red light starts. Boy, there's Brad Anderson back there on the starting line talking to Steve's wife, and just a red light start, just a couple of hundredths of a second, but we saw a lot of red lights in the final rounds here today. Marty's going to be mad at himself, but it's exacerbated by the fact that he ran the better ET. You don't know if it threw Steve off by looking at that. We will never know, but Marty goes 561. Steve actually slowed a bit to 563. See that big speed there from Marty Nothstein, but it's all for naught as he got beat on the starting line.
Steve Harker, who's very excited, won last week in Gainesville, now to win in Houston. How excited are you right now?
Really excited. That's fantastic. You know, it's for our sponsors, Lucas Oil, Hedman Headers, I-40, our crew, my wife Janelle, the girls, Kate and Diana, Dan, Joseph, Dan and Mick. They've all done a fantastic job in turning this car around and helping it make it go down the track.
You look like you're having trouble holding that wall. You want me to take care of that for you?
Yeah, you can handle that one. It's great.